Spoilers ahead for the final season up to episode 7. The final season for Attack on Titan has finally dropped, and boy is it a doozy. Weebs across the nation are rejoicing as we're treated to a buffet of gripping plot, detailed character development, and glorious fight scenes. And I mean glorious fight scenes. But even though we've seen a bunch of changes to our lovely cast, like Eren growing Jesus hair for example, or Armin becoming a Giga Chad, or that guy with a bad haircut finally going to the barbers, one thing always seems to stay the same. Levi is still the most badass character in the entire show. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. How Levi Ackerman turned into this house-cleaning, wall-walking, Titan-killing machine that we've all come to know and love. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with Levi's childhood. So, Levi Ackerman's backstory is kinda tragic. He was the son to Kuchel Ackerman, an underground prostitute who got impregnated by mistake by one of her clients, who didn't stick around to help raise the kid, of course. Alright, we're starting off strong right off the bat. Here, we find out that Levi grew up in a fatherless household. Why does this matter? Because it's been found that kids in a household without a present father figure are way more susceptible to a host of behavioral and emotional problems. For example, children with an absent father figure tend to develop abandonment issues, have problems making and keeping friends, and adopting an intimidating persona to disguise their insecurities. They're also more likely to turn to delinquency and violent crime. About 85% of the youths in prison don't have a father in their lives. And Levi wasn't really an exception, until Erwin came into his life. If being abandoned by his father from birth wasn't bad enough, Levi's mom proceeds to actually die when he was like 8 years old, which presumably just exacerbated his abandonment issues, while simultaneously leaving him starving, broke, and all alone in the cruel underworld, with no means of survival. Now fast forward a few days or weeks, and we see Kenny Ackerman, Levi's uncle, unbeknownst to him at the time, come pay a visit to his dear sister. Too bad for him, he finds her malnourished, long-dead corpse on the very bed she works in, with about Levi 5 feet away, curled up in the corner. So, I want to quickly point out here the condition Kenny finds Levi in. He's helpless, demotivated, and just waiting to die, very reminiscent of major depressive disorder, or depression. And who can blame him? He's like 8 and his mom just died right in front of him. Thankfully, his depression isn't persistent, as it starts to fade away when Kenny takes his nephew out to dinner. Levi's traumatic backstory drops major hints as to where his abrasive and antisocial nature comes from. He's quick to violence and isn't afraid to provoke or belittle people he doesn't like when he starts a fight in the underground and beats the shit out of a poor guy, or when he joins a criminal gang, or when he starts one of his own. Alright, moving on. After Levi was adopted by Kenny, he was taught the basics of how to survive in the underground gang world. Kenny instilled in him fundamental skills like how to get along with people, or manipulate them, how to handle a knife, and how to make a living and fend for himself, which is presumably where the knife part comes in. Essentially setting Levi up to take the Guinness World Record for world's youngest psychopath. After Levi starts a fight with a guy much bigger than him and easily kicks his ass, Kenny figures he's done enough teaching and disappears into the shadows, leaving Levi once again abandoned. Levi then proceeds to join a crime gang and makes his first 2 friends in the entire world at around age 25. By this point, Levi has been living his entire life without any friends. The only person he kind of got along with was Kenny, who had disappeared. As you can imagine, this kind of lifestyle isn't really good for anybody, because you're essentially cut off from the world because of your poor social skills and your psychological trauma. Studies have shown that adults who grew up with no friends stand a significantly higher chance of developing some form of psychopathology. So when Levi finds friends in Furla and Isabel, he treasures them and holds them close, because he definitely knew how important these bonds were. Eventually, the trio go on a crime mission for some rich guy, and eventually end up getting caught by Erwin and the scouts. Here, Levi is non-cooperative and defiant in the face of authority, which is probably due to his antisocial beginnings, which by this point isn't really a surprise. But then later warms up to Erwin when he earns his respect. The trio then moves to the surface to join the Titan-killing scouts under Commander Erwin. They try to pull a sneaky one on him, but get dismembered in the process. All of them except Levi, of course. After a pep talk from Erwin, Levi sees him as a role model, pledges allegiance to him, and starts using his skills for the good of humanity. And that catches us up to where we are when we enter the story. So, throughout Levi's life, we see a recurring theme of loss. First, he lost his biological father, whom he had never met. Then he lost his mom at a young age, got pseudo-adopted by Kenny, lost him too, and then witnessed his two best friends get mangled by a titan. This in turn makes him keep everybody at arm's length, likely because he's afraid of the potential pain of losing them too. On the other hand, it also makes him value and cherish human life a lot, like when he seems to be visibly disturbed when his comrades die. It also makes him good at his job. More on this later. But his tragic history also makes him subclinically obsessive-compulsive. Subclinical meaning not showing symptoms severe enough yet to be readily observable, and obsessive-compulsive as in OCD. You know, with his cleaning habits. This is interesting because OCD develops in a multitude of ways, including appearing in children who experienced, you guessed it, trauma. From a psychoanalytic perspective, the obsessions and compulsions a person with OCD feels reflect maladaptive responses to unresolved conflict in childhood. The symptoms of OCD symbolize a patient's unconscious struggle for control over things they can't control. And what's poor Levi trying to control? The lives of other people. Not in the evil villain kind of way. It's more like in the please don't die and leave me kind of sense. Probably because the author, Hajime Isayama, decided to kill everyone he gets close to or forms a bond with. Levi's rather small body is also home to an ungodly amount of rage. Luckily for everyone else, he funnels all of that rage into slaying the enemies of humanity. He's so ruthless while dispatching titans that it sometimes seems like he's able to remain completely indifferent while killing, almost like a psychopath. He also exhibits displays of sadism, expressing joy at the opportunity of torture. For example, when the scouts captured the female titan, Levi told her how he enjoyed watching her suffer, and described in chilling detail how he intends to mutilate her human body. That's pretty screwed up. But is Levi really a psychopath? Well, no. Because contrary to psychopaths, Levi is empathetic and cares about other people. For example, he feels bad when he finds out that he might have been making mincemeat of titans which may have formerly been humans. And we all know how he feels about human life. But then again, he was okay with slicing them up like hot pizza when they were just some form of other living thing. You know, it's kinda hard for humans to go about killing anything, except mosquitoes, without feeling any remorse about doing it, human life or not. But it's possible that because Levi sustained so much loss and was so helpless to stop it, he was trying to find a way to bargain with fate. He could have been projecting the intangible force responsible for his loss onto the way more tangible and more sliceable titans. Because, well, the titans have killed a shit ton of his friends after all. In this way, he displays no remorse about confronting the objects responsible for his pain, and is able to slice them up no problem. Of course, this would be still kinda hard to do for any normal person, but as we've established by this point, Levi isn't exactly a normal person. So, why is Levi such a badass? In summary, it's the capacity for complete independence, a strong moral compass, and the skills to do the job without fail, thanks to his rough upbringing, and God mode cheats in his Ackerman DNA of course. That's why he's such a badass. That's it for this video guys, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you like the content, it really helps me out. And I'll see you guys next time.